Hey, welcome to Beast Training. My name is Aiden Bierman, and today we are back with the real life tier list, and today we are going to be ranking muscle groups. I've done 5 videos of these already. We've done ranking chest, ranking back, arms, and legs, also bodybuilding poses. That being said, let's just combine all of them today and rank actual muscle groups. Since there are 650 muscles in the body, I just picked my favorite 16 of big muscle groups that I think we should rank. That being said, if you've already watched this series, you already know. But for those who haven't, these muscle groups I'm going to rank are coming at me in complete random order. So I did no planning to this. So we're going to have to swap them around sometimes. But enough of this garbage and let's get going. This is probably going to be the hardest ranking video I've done so far. And before we get into it, I just want to preface what exactly I'm basing these on. So number 1 is my opinion. Get over it. Number 2 is going to be how aesthetic they look. That comes into my opinion, of course. And 3, overall, just, how fun it is to work.
What is going on inside their head?
Enough of this. I just don't want to hear, the complaints, you know what I mean? Like, what? This isn't F tier? Bruh. All right, so let's start the video out with a simple one. Is going to be the lats. I'm going to have a picture over here of what muscle group that is in case you don't know. Hopefully that helps a little bit. But of course, the lats are the biggest group. Muscle in the back is predominantly, I'm not sure about the exact statistic, but I'm assuming about 50% of the back. And the lats are a very, very important muscle. Let's get that straight. I think the lats are an S tier muscle. Back is fun to train, in my opinion, in general, and having an absolute demon back and looking like an anime character is most gym goer or lifter goals. So I'm going to put lats S tier. Of course, these might move around. Next up is going to be hamstrings. I don't mind doing hamstrings, but I do think they're one of the lesser fun muscles to train in the legs, just because there's very few movements that actually work hamstrings, I guess, independently, right? Like you have a few of the leg curls, but the seated leg curl machine, if you watched my leg ranking video, I'm not a fan. Seated leg curl machine, I'm going to put in C tier. But hamstrings are decently important for overall leg aesthetics and that sort of thing. But I do not believe they're the most aesthetic muscle in the leg by any means. So we'll put hamstrings B for now. I think hamstrings are a pretty middle ground for the legs. Okay, next one's going to be kind of a specialty muscle. Is going to be the Teres minor and major. I think the Teres minor and major are extremely slept on muscles. You can't necessarily work your Teres minor and major really in isolation. There's hardly any way to do that because they are one of the upper back muscles that connect with that shoulder directly. They're not the most important muscle of the upper back, but if you are looking for them on someone's back, you can see them if they have a very defined back. I think the Teres minor and major are extremely slept on though, purely because they do really tie that back together when you're getting that demon back. They are a necessary muscle for that back. That being said, I'm going to put it B tier as well. I think it's a pretty average. It can't be as high up as some of the other back muscles, but I would say it's about average in terms of overall muscles. It could also move down to C later. We'll see. All right, next up is going to be the tricep lateral head. The reason, of course, as assumed, I split the lateral and the long head of the triceps is a few reasons. One, I can print out 4 of these on a single piece of paper, and without splitting it, I had 15. So I might as well split it so that I have 16 total and make the use of each paper. 2, you have to work long head and lateral head separately, so I decided to kind of split them, but that's not a big reason. Anyways, tricep lateral head. The lateral head is, of course, this one. The one that pops out. So most people would say the tricep lateral head is important because it points out. But the lateral head is actually shorter and less, I guess, distinguished than the long head. So I would argue the long head is more important than the triceps lateral head. That being said, working triceps is fun, but on most of my tricep days, I think the push down movement is more boring than long head movements, and it's more of a boring movement anyways, if I'm being honest. I'm actually going to put triceps lateral head. God, this is ranking is hard, man. I'm going to put it B for now, okay? B is like my safe zone. I'm gonna resort there and then change later. If you're enjoying the video so far, be sure to scroll down and hit that subscribe button for me. I'm closing in on 100 subs. Help a brother out. Subscribing's free. Just hit that red button. Next up is going to be one of the other muscles of the back, which is your traps. Some people do think that big traps are not aesthetic. Some people love big traps. My argument is that your traps aren't just the mountains here. They go at least halfway down your back. Your trap muscles go all the way down. So if you really want a good back, your traps are very, very important, because without those traps, you're not getting that middle muscle growth down your spine. So I would say traps are one of the most important muscles, and in my opinion, too big traps are not aesthetic, but having traps is aesthetic. You can't just have it flat here, that if you're big and have nothing here, like you're just flat, it would be really weird looking. So I'm going to put traps A tier. I think traps are a very important muscle of the back, but I do understand the argument that they're not aesthetic. Next up is going to be the calves, which are the easiest muscle group that I printed. I'm just going to go slide this down here, and we're going to move on. All right, so let's get back to the upper body, which is going to be delts. I decided to combine the side delt and the anterior delt, so that makes up the side shoulder and the front shoulder. The reason I did that is anytime you're doing like a side movement, you're kind of working the front. Anytime you're working front, you're working the side. And for an aesthetic, you need both together. You can't have one without the other. And it's almost impossible. Actually, I would argue it is impossible to have one without the other, purely because how the shoulder works at a mobility level. You have to have both, and both are being worked almost all the time. Shoulders are at the top of my list for aesthetics. I always say all you really need for good aesthetics, in my opinion, is back and shoulders. Even if the rest of you is kind of small, if you have good shoulders and a good back, you're going to look aesthetically pleasing to the normal eye. Of course, if you're, in a gym, they may look at you because they know what they're looking at, like, oh, wow, why does he only have back and shoulders? But if you're at like a beach or something, back and shoulders are going to do it for you. That's where people are going to look first, guaranteed. So, that being said, I do think shoulders are in S tier. I think shoulders are one of the most important. They look the best, and everyone wants bolder shoulders. All right, so here's going to be a pretty interesting one that I chose. That's going to be the rhomboid. This is an interesting muscle in your back that really shows when you have a good back. This is a picture I recently took for my Instagram, and you can see the rhomboid because guess what? It makes a rhombus shape. So you could really see that in your back, and it is very, very important to have that. That is, of course, going to be one of the main muscles of your upper back. Definitely one of the biggest, but one of the most distinguished ones as well. So I do think the rhomboid has to be at least A tier. This could possibly move up to S tier, but I think it's in the same kind of level as the traps, where your upper back, you kind of need all the muscles to look good. You can't just have one without the other. Again, it's almost impossible to get one without the other, but you do have to have both. But I also think those two in particular are not as important as the top two. All right, next up is going to be abs and obliques. See, I was just going to do the exact same thing and throw this onto D and not really talk about it, but I do think abs need to be mentioned. I'm going to put abs C tier. In my opinion, abs are not necessary for a physique for certain people. Like for me, I do not give a rat's ass about my abs. I really don't care about having abs. Some people really care about having abs, right? So it is all up to you. That being said, everyone has a six-pack It's just covered by fat. Yes, some people's six packs aren't as defined, but it's still there. That's how the muscle looks. Is it supposed to look like a six pack? That being said, that's just aesthetics. Working your core is very important for overall health. But I do not go for the gym for overall health. I don't care. I'm there to get big. I don't care about overall health. So in my opinion, abs and obliques are C, plus ab workouts stink. All right, I'm sure you guys were waiting for this one. Next up is going to be chest. Here's my thing with chest. It's a small, overrated muscle. Chest is overrated. And let me tell you why. If you don't have insane chest genetics, your chest is never going to look that good. And it's a small muscle. I do think chest is overrated to hell. That being said, I'm going to still put it A tier because it is so important for a physique. But I don't think it's S tier level. I don't. I think most people would put chest S tier. It's not. That being said, I do think chest workouts are some of the most fun. I really like chest workouts, make you feel like a god when you're doing them. So, moving on. All right, so next up is going to be glutes. Depending on the person you ask, this might be the top one. For me, it depends on the gender. So, if we are talking about a gym lady over here, that's going to be up here. If we're talking about men, I would say glutes probably fall to A or B. That being said, glutes are very aesthetically pleasing for the eye. We're not going to get more in depth than that. I'm going to keep glutes S tier. All right, so let's just keep it up with the leg workouts. Next is going to be quads. In my opinion, quads are the most aesthetic part of the legs. I think besides one, quads are the most aesthetically pleasing regardless of gender. So men with good quads are nice. Women with nice quads are nice. That being said, I'm going to put A tier for quads. You know what? We'll do it. We'll put quads S tier. I think quads are very important. They're definitely, in my opinion, the nicest looking muscle of the S tier. Not only that, but for most men, right? You're not like turning around like this to show off that during pictures. But if you're faced forward, you're big up here and have quads, fantastic, like godlike physique. So I'm okay putting quads S tier. Here we go with the triceps long head. So this is what I was talking about earlier. Like I said, I put B tier for triceps lateral. I'm going to put triceps long head in A. Triceps are super important for big arms. Actually, they are the importance of big arms. So especially that long head. If you are flexing and you have a nice long head. What did you say? And it pops out a lot. I'm not quite there yet in my opinion, but if it really pops out and you really have that horseshoe, it looks incredible. So I think the triceps long head is more important than that lateral head, but they are both pretty important for that overall tricep. Next up is going to be biceps. I'm going to keep it a hard stack for this one. Bicep movements are, of course, the absolute worst out of any of the movements for your body. All you could do for biceps is curls. It absolutely stinks. I hate working biceps. The only thing I really like for biceps is spider curls. Spider curls feel nice. Biceps are also not that important for a good physique. When you're flexing, yes, but your biceps are typically not the first muscle people look at if they know anything about lifting. So I'm going to put biceps B tier. I do not think it needs to be at the same level as abs or calves. I don't think that's fair, but it's definitely not at the same level as some of these up here. Next up is going to be lower back. So of course your lower back is a part of your core. It's just on the back. Lower back is super important for a nice aesthetic back. It really connects your entire back. Not only that, with the lifestyle everyone lives in today's age, lower back workouts are incredibly important. Lower back is one of the first things to go on everyone as you get older. I would say lower back and knees and possibly shoulders. Those are the three things to go first. Depends on the person. But for everyone, lower back is super important. I'm going to put lower back B tier. The workouts aren't very fun for it, but I feel like it still needs to be there. Last, but definitely not least, is going to be the rear delt. I mentioned that the Teres minor and major, in my opinion, is the most slept on muscle. I was wrong. They are the second. This is the most slept on muscle in the body. If you want boulder shoulders, if you want a good looking back, you need to work your rear delts. A tier. I don't think they're as important as these up here, but your rear delt is necessary for boulder shoulders. If you don't have the rear delt, your shoulder just cuts off here and it looks weird. I see a lot of people with no rear delt and they kind of just like look like they're always hunched over, even if they're not, but that's because they have nothing there, but their shoulder pops out. Rear delt is the most slept on muscle in the body. All right, so this is the 16 muscle groups that I decided to pick out for today and rank. I think these were a pretty good choice. These are like kind of the bigger muscles that people look for and know of. Like I said, there are 650 muscles in the body. So yeah, you're on crack if you think I'm even getting close. So I've just picked out the big groups. Let me know what you think of this list in the comments below. Be sure to go check out Beast Training Clothing for affordable gym merch and free shipping, beasttrainingclothing.com. Also, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video and the fitness comedy content. I am closing in on 100 subs, so please help a brother out. Again, let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Make your own tier list, embrace chaos, and release your beast.